Digestion of the chicken parmesan begins in the oral cavity, which refers to the mouth. When you first take a bite of your food, your salivary glands produce saliva, which help break down food. After the spit breaks down the food, the tongue, which is located near the soft palate, which provides space for the tongue, helps you move blouse, which is just a mixture of chewed food mixed in with saliva. So after the blouse is made, that just helps you with chewing and swallowing the food. The spit glands produce enzymes called amylase and elingular lipase. The amylase aids in the breaking down of carbs, while the lipase aids in the breaking down of fats.
Hey guys, I'm Hallie, and we're going to be talking about the esophagus and the stomach. So we have our bite of food, it's chicken parmesan, right? And it has now moved through the oral cavity. You've chewed it up, you've got some enzymes that are released, and so it's being lightly mechanically and chemically digested. So now it's in our esophagus. So the main function of the esophagus is to move it. No digestion actually occurs in the esophagus. No enzymes are released, no mixing. It's really just to move the food down. So it's going to move through these wave-like movements of the muscles, and these are called peristalsis movements. And so it's going to move it down through these peristaltic movements, and it's going to reach this sphincter called the esophageal sphincter. Basically, you could think of a sphincter as like a muscular trap door, and it's not going to control the food going in, but what it is going to control is making sure that the food isn't going up back the way it came, because we don't want that. So now we have our food in our stomach. So once the food's in our stomach, there are these glands in the lining of our stomach. And what they do is they produce all the stomach acid and the enzymes that contribute to breaking down our food. So what an enzyme is you can think of it as like a molecule that just helps us break our food down faster. It just helps us to get it broken down and metabolized, and just really get that done as fast as possible. So these glands, the enzymes it's producing, the main one that we want to talk about is an enzyme called pepsin. And what pepsin does is it binds to proteins specifically, and it's going to take that protein and it's going to turn the protein into peptides and smaller amino acids. And this is just going to help later on make sure that the small intestine is able to absorb it and digest and get what it needs. So the two other enzymes that we want to talk about, because chicken parmesan has all three macronutrients in it. It does have protein, carbohydrates, and fats. So there are other enzymes, and this is pretty broad. They're called amylases and they're called lipases. And what these are going to do, there's multiple different kinds of amylases and lipases, but what these are going to do is it's going to bind to the fats and the carbs, and it's going to break them down just like the other ones into materials that will be absorbable and movable and whatever the small intestine needs to do for that. So all the while that the enzymes are being released and chemically digesting, the stomach also aids in mechanically digesting. So it's going to be churning. It also has these peristaltic movements that's going to churn and mix all of the food. And this is what is going to turn the food into chyme. That's what the food is called after it's been digested and mixed and it's moving into the small intestine. It's called chyme. So yeah, now we're going to go into the small intestine.
Now, once the protein, carbs, and fat nutrients of our digested piece of chicken parmesan enter the small intestines, they're absorbed as they move through the three sections of the small intestines. These are the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. Now, these three basically all have the same function, except the ileum is the longest and last portion, which takes up more than 3/5 of the whole small intestines. Now, with the help of microvilli, which is small finger-like structures that increase the absorptive surface area of your small intestines, the protein is released into the bloodstream, the carbs are broken down, absorbed, and transported into the liver, and the fats are emulsified by bile while enzymes digest them. After absorption, the fatty acids are passed through the lymph system and then throughout your body via the bloodstream to be used or stored for energy, cell repair, or growth. Your lymph system also absorbs fatty acids to help fight infections. All the residual food components that have not already been digested are fermented by microorganisms in the large intestines. These remains are then passed down through the rectum and defecated out of the human body via the anus.
So throughout the digestive process, there are organs called accessory organs, which help the other digestive organs digest food. The three accessory organs are the pancreas, liver, and gallbladder. So while digesting the bite of chicken parmesan, the body will be working to digest fats, proteins, and carbohydrates, which are included in that bite. The accessory organs will help other organs such as the stomach, small intestine, and digest these macromolecules by producing substances called enzymes, which help speed up the chemical breakdown of macromolecules. To help with the digestion of fats, the pancreas will produce an enzyme called pancreatic lipase, which will help the small intestine digest fats, and the liver will produce an enzyme called bile, which is stored in the gallbladder, which will also help with the digestion of fats in the chicken parmesan. To help with the digestion of proteins, the pancreas will produce an enzyme called trypsin, which helps break down these proteins, while the liver will produce a type of enzyme called protease, which helps with the digestion of proteins as well. In order to help with the digestion of carbohydrates, the pancreas will also produce amylase, which helps with the digestion of carbohydrates, and the liver will produce insulin, which will help control the amount of sugar, which is a type of carbohydrate that there is in the blood. While these accessory organs may not be the direct places where digestion occurs, they do plenty to help out with digestion of food, such as a bite of chicken parmesan.